Health Department confirms that the country is now at critical risk for COVID-19 as cases surged to record highs in the past week. The government is now limiting the amount of flu medicines one can purchase after reports of hoarding led to supply shortages in pharmacies and drugstores. The Commission on Elections is now verifying reports of a supposed breach into its servers. However, one cybersecurity expert says the alleged stolen data cannot be used to tamper with votes in the 2022 polls. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. The Philippines is now at critical risk for COVID-19 transmission as cases spike in the past weeks. The Health Department also claims that Omicron is now the dominant variant in the country. Maricel Halili with the story.
With the recent record-high daily cases, the Health Department confirms that the whole country is now at critical level for COVID-19 transmission. During the Talk to the People last night, Duque said there is more than 3,600% increase on our two-week growth rate, 10.47% average attack rate, and 40.4% positivity rate. Duque said majority of the samples tested by the Philippine Genome Center turned out to be Omicron. But Dr. Cynthia Saloma of Philippine Genome Center thinks they still need more samples to confirm whether or not Omicron is now the dominant variant in the country. So far, Philippines recorded 43 confirmed Omicron cases, 22 of which are from international travelers.
Siguro yung sinabi sa atin ni Secretary should be interpreted in context. It was really based on the last sequencing run. But based on our data USEC, marami pa ring Delta. Whether this is reflective of the fact that Omicron is already dominant in the country, we need to have further evidence po. So yun USEC, ang ating DOH po gumagawa ng sampling sa different hospitals and institutions around the country so that malaman talaga natin yung situation.
Meanwhile, Metro Manila remains at the critical risk classification with over 50% positivity rate. It means 5 out of 10 individuals tested positive for COVID-19. Despite this, NCR mayors insist that the region does not need to be placed under Alert Level 4.
Kung titignan mo naman, pinakita nga namin yung mobility on their own. Nakita mo na Friday, Saturday, Sunday, ultimo ang mga tao nagsiself-regulate na. Ultimo sila, hindi na sila lumalabas.
Metro Manila will remain under Alert Level 3 until January 15. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
The government has put a limit on over-the-counter medicines being purchased amid the rise in demand. The sale of 500 milligram paracetamol is limited to only 20 pieces per person and 60 per household. Cough medicines also have the same purchase limits. Individuals and establishments who will violate the circular will be held liable under the Price Act, Consumer Act, and other laws. The Food and Drug Administration has approved the compassionate use of a Pfizer COVID-19 pill. FDA officer in charge, Oscar Gutierrez, said they have granted special permit for Bexavid. It is the generic version of Pfizer's anti-COVID-19 pill, Paxlovid. Gutierrez says the health department may now make the pill available for select hospitals. The US FDA has already approved its use for mild to moderate cases. The Commission on Elections is currently validating a report claiming that its systems have been hacked. In a statement, Comelec says the report barely supported its claim that the hackers were able to download files that included usernames and PIN codes of vote counting machines. The poll body added that such information is not even available in their systems just yet. The Comelec said it is ready to go after those who will attempt to undermine the integrity of the election process. The editorial team behind that report, though, says that they ran the story before the poll body prior to publishing. Speaking here on One News Now, Manila Bulletin Technology Editor Art Samaniego said they waited for a response from the Comelec for 3 days regarding the alleged incident. He said that the information was first relayed to them by an informant via telegram. Comelec had said the information supposedly downloaded were not yet in their systems.
Kung sinabi niya na kagad yun, nung pinakita namin sa kanya yung files, dapat clear na kami sa first story pa lang namin. So we need to rewrite the story para ipasok namin yung comment nila.
Meanwhile, Samaniego says the alleged hacking could put doubts on the integrity of the 2022 elections. However, he noted that votes cannot be tampered with, using the supposed information stolen from the Comelec.
For the information that being leaked, the information that we have, no, votes cannot be tampered with. Saka, let us all remember that the vote counting machines are not connected to the internet.
Okay.
It's not connected to the internet, so no way of getting inside unless you have a physical access to the machine.
And back to COVID. Apart from Metro Manila, other areas in the country are likewise seeing an uptick in COVID-19 cases. Let's check in on Central Visayas with DOH-7 spokesperson, Dr. Mary Jean Lareche. Dr. Lareche, good evening. Welcome back on the show. First off, can you tell us how the COVID-19 situation is like in Central Visayas? I think you know how things are here in the NCR.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me here. Actually, we do see a slight increase also and rise in our numbers in Central Visayas. Apparently, this is the trend everywhere. But if you will also notice our numbers in Central Visayas, particularly in one Cebu, it's not really that high as yet. But if you see a doubling in the numbers, like where before we were having 2 additional cases, now we're having around 4 or 6. So, well, with a fast doubling of the numbers, then it can be seen as something that is quite bothersome.
Right. The way the numbers stand right now, Dr. Lareche, are the numbers higher as compared to the Delta-induced surge, from the moment we noticed the uptick?
No, apparently during the Delta-driven surge, we had quite, a very fast increase, a rapid increase in the numbers. But here with the Omicron variant around us, first off, we have not received any confirmed positive for Omicron variant coming from the samples that we have sent to the Philippine Genomic Center. Second, remember that we had a post-Typhoon Odette incident. So you see a clustering of people in the evacuation centers, no light, people are actually no power, no water, and you see people breaking protocols just to be able to get water, to be able to get money, cash money from the ATMs, line up in the gas station. So mahirap talaga siya. So it will be kind of difficult to really attribute the rise in cases purely to the possibility or probability of an Omicron-driven threat here or rise of cases. So we have to also start thinking that we were in the post-holiday surge, post-holiday celebration, post-typhoon calamity. So these are the things that we need to also think about.
Until we determine all of that, one of the things we can do, Dr. Lareche, is to really ramp up vaccination rates. I'm curious as to what the vaccination rate is in the Central Visayas and how the rollout of boosters are going. Or is vaccine hesitancy going down over there?
Yeah, so prior to the typhoon, prior to that event, we were doing very well with our vaccination. We were able to almost hit our targets, particularly this was seen actually during the Bayanihan Bakunahan program and activities of the government. But with the typhoon coming in, we were really, na backtrack tayo with our vaccination activities. So if you really look at the numbers, if you look only at Metro Cebu, that is the highly urbanized cities, and part of the other municipalities from the province, we have a very good, percentage in terms of performance for our vaccination. So we're actually looking at 87 and for 87% fully vaccinated and almost 70% also with a single dose. That's for the totality of it. But if you factor in the entire province, we do see quite a slowdown in the vaccination. But we are again upbeat and positive that in the coming days, with all that the LGUs are doing and what we are, trying to help with our vaccination drive, that we will be able to pull this off.
All right, hoping right alongside you, Dr. Loreche. Here in the NCR, the mayors have already agreed to restrict the mobility of the unvaccinated. Would you agree to having the same sort of policy there in the Central Visayas?
Even before the implementation of the NCR or Metro Manila Council of Mayors for the restriction of unvaccinated persons, we have always been compliant also with that. Remember that there was a time that even IATF had this guidelines to restrict the mobility of unvaccinated individuals in order to encourage people to become vaccinated. It is some sort of incentivizing those who want to be vaccinated. So we do have our own policies in terms of, allowing more mobility, like for example, in enclosed dining areas where we allow mostly the fully vaccinated instead of allowing unvaccinated individuals. But in alfresco areas, the unvaccinated can actually access whatever they need to access there. So basically, we leave that to our leaders, to the local chief executives, if they would want to follow suit. But right now, we are in a post-typhoon, mode. Right now, our focus is on recovery, really. Kung makikita ninyo yung mga kabahayan, walang mga atip, ang mga tao, it's really more on recovery status first. And maybe that one will have to follow soon.
All right, loud and clear, Dr. Loreche. We hope recovery from Typhoon Odette does happen sooner rather than later there in the Central Visayas. Now, speaking of damage to infrastructure and public services, how are hospitals there holding up, given that there probably is still or are still some people in the hospital from the typhoon, and then now with the added surge of COVID-19 cases? Are the hospitals there ready for an influx of patients?
We'll start with the first one. Are our hospitals affected, infrastructure speaking, from the typhoon? Yes, partly some of our hospitals has really been, has taken the brunt of it, infrastructurally speaking. However, when we talk also of admissions, for non-COVID cases, yes, most of our hospitals now has more of these non-COVID patients. And we know for a fact that these are, patients that may recover or patients that are undergoing problems with waterborne diseases and the post-celebrations like hypertension, diabetes, and other cardiovascular diseases. As to the admissions related to COVID, our critical care utilization rate for COVID is still very, very low, meaning to say for the private hospitals, talking for one Cebu, we are less than 12% in our critical care utilization rate. For the government-retained hospitals or the DOH Sentinel hospitals, I think we are already approaching 60% for our occupancy for COVID. But then you have to understand that the number of beds allocated has been decreased also correspondingly because we had no cases, we had very low cases. And so a lot of non-COVID patients have started to seek medical attention. So they are now the ones who are actually admitted. So we have minimal amount of number of beds for COVID.
All right. And finally, Dr. Loreche, what measures do you guys have in place against the Omicron variant there in Region 7? Have you guys done some preemptive moves in order to try to stymie the surge in cases or the possible surge in cases?
Yeah, thank you so much. Basically, we know from the very beginning, we're already almost year three of the pandemic. We've had three surges already, and we have to ride this one if it's going to be the fourth one, you know. We have been through the Delta-driven surge. We have put in place and activated our TPMS or isolation facilities. Our containment measures, our operation centers are actually 24/7 working on it. And so I believe that with the Omicron coming in, and God forbid it be very, very soon, and it will be, swamping our hospitals, I believe we're ready. And we are now into one key messaging, by the way, and that is encouraging people to be in home quarantine instead of rushing into the hospitals. We have been doing planning, and we have been meeting left and right since after immediately after January 1. We are preparing for this, and I believe we are prepared for it. God help us all.
On that note, thank you as usual for all those updates and hoping for the best for your region. Dr. Mary Jean Loreche from the DOH Region 7 in Central Visayas. Thank you for joining us today, Doc.
Maraming salamat din po.
For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Masks on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I am Sean Yao. We are One News.